Good morning, Santa Clarita. Welcome in. Welcome in. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVI and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson. And as you know, our show, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you by SCVI and I Lead Schools. We are a network of charter schools, free public charter schools with campuses in Castaic, Agua Dulce, Lancaster. We've got a fully accredited online school, iLead Online. We've also got a burgeoning homeschool program called iLead Exploration. You can get more information on any of our schools. That's right, our homeschool, our online school, any of our campus-based schools by visiting ileadschools.org. That is ileadschools.org. So yeah, we've got our eye on education here in Santa Clarita and across the country. But like the show says, we like to keep our eye on the valley as well, bringing you information about everything that's going on here in and around the valley. And we try to do it while bringing a smile to your face, getting your weekend started just right. We got a little rain last night. It was perfect. Thank you to the new city ordinance that the city council passed. The rain stayed out of for the most part our morning drive time and our evening drive time. So only between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. do we allow it to rain in April. So we've got some of them April showers waking up your garden this morning. But it's going to be a gorgeous weekend. It is going to be just an absolutely perfect springtime weekend here in the valley. So what are you doing to take advantage of it? You know, we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and we've got, we've just got dozens of gorgeous parks here in the valley. The eagle-eyed listener might catch Engineer Andrew playing some frisbee golf out there at Central Park this weekend. We've got miles and miles of hiking trails, paseos. We've got our city throwing a party this weekend. I think
Party
that's
on
tomorrow.
the Point.
Yeah, Party on the Point. The city is throwing a hey, get rid of your mask and let's party like it's 2019. So yeah, we got a party going on this weekend. There's Six Flags. There's tons of amazing outdoor opportunities for you and your family this weekend. So get out there and enjoy it. And in fact, why don't you head up to Gilchrist Farm? Because it's going to be an absolutely perfect weekend to take the fam to the farm. And speaking of Gilchrist Farm, Monica Gilchrist will be joining us here in just a minute to tell us about everything that they've got going on up there for you this weekend and next weekend and just about every weekend here in the valley. It's such a fun day out at the farm, and so tune in and stick around for hour number 2 as well. We'll be flipping the tables a little bit. I'm going to be the interviewee today in the second hour. That's right. One of my students from a project I recently completed will be joining us. Lucy Chisholm and her mother, Harmony, are actually on their way to the studio right now. They're going to be joining us. They're a homeschool family from iLead Exploration, and you're going to love them. They are absolutely fantastic, and you're going to hear about some of the cool things our homeschoolers are doing, and we'll talk about that project that we just completed. And since I'll be on the other side of the table, producer Sara is here in studio. Sara McDaniels, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
So glad to have you here. It's nice to have you back in the studio.
It's fun to be here.
Yeah. So yeah, Sara and I are gonna keep things going together. I mentioned we've got Monica on the phone. I don't want to keep her waiting anymore. So let's go ahead and get started. Why don't you pour yourself a second cup of coffee and join us for a couple of hours. Our first guest this morning is the owner of Gilchrist Farm, just up Bouquet Canyon. Monica Gilchrist graduated from my old tomato, Cal State Northridge, and went on to earn her master's degree from UCLA. Go Bruins. She has extensive experience in philanthropy, working as the National Resource Center Coordinator for Global Green USA before becoming the Executive Director of the Green Hive Foundation and later the Deputy Executive Director with ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability. But her true passion called her back to the farm where she and her team offer horseboarding, horseback riding lessons, birthday parties, weddings. They got eggs, they got goat's milk, soap, turkeys, hogs, just all sorts of farm family fun for everybody, for kids of all ages. Monica, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
We're so glad to have you back. We always love chatting with you. I always get really excited about everything that's going on the farm. You guys always seem to have something new happening. But for folks that may have missed you the last time you were on Eye on the Valley, can you give us a bit of a background? Tell us the history behind you and your farm and your passion.
Yeah, we opened up as a business in 2016, and we took what was our family's home and opened it up and turned it into what we anticipated would be a horseback riding business, throw in a few birthday parties, and a summer camp. That's where we started in March of 2016. And then that same year, our local pumpkin patch, Lombardi's, had announced for the second year in a row that they were no longer able to grow pumpkins on account of the drought, and they were shutting their festival. So we thought we would do a small-scale festival for our summer camp, which turned into a much larger scale thing and has grown from there.
Gosh, so you guys, so it hasn't really been that long, about 6 years now. You guys started in 2016 and just grew, and I know you guys are so creative with all the different events that you guys add. What are some of the regular events or activities that Gilchrist, that your farm has on the weekends for families? Because you're open just the weekends, right?
We're open on the weekends for public visits,
Right.
And then during the week we offer private lessons in horseback riding, archery, mounted archery, and then we have all kinds of classes from wool spinning to crochet. So The weekdays are for classes in camps, and the weekends are for families to come and visit.
Okay, so you guys keep busy 7 days a week. So open for public visit this weekend, including tomorrow and Sunday. You mentioned off the air, we got a little rain here in the valley. You guys a little bit busy mopping up and waiting for the crowds this weekend?
Oh, yeah. It was a huge amount of rain in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is making little trenches because some of it decided to go into the pens. But we're just about through that. We appreciate the rain anyway. And this weekend you can come and see we have 12 brand new baby goats all born within the last 2 weeks. They are as cute as it gets. We have about 8 baby bunnies. We have axe throwing and archery every weekend, which are really fun for all ages. This is something that we're finding brings out our older crowd, so the adults are having as much fun as the kids now. We have our giant slide. We have pony rides, horseback rides, wagon rides, farm train, and then we have a lot of really fun farm crafts. We do wool spinning on the weekends. We have things like horseshoe painting, pioneer doll making, and we've recently introduced candle dipping as well. So a little something for everyone.
You got too much going on to pack into one day. Folks are going to have to choose their pleasure out there. Gosh, and axe throwing, you said, pioneer doll making, all kinds of stuff. And did I hear you right? Do you offer this to the public, or is it just private lessons? You have mounted archery lessons?
We do. So we have both group and individual lessons for mounted archery. So this is shooting arrows from horseback. And we take some horsemanship, some ground archery, and then we combine it up to introduce the sport to both folks who have no experience in either or folks that are very good at one or the other. So we have a lot of folks coming in from all over LA that have actually and beyond that have a lot of great horse experience. And now we're teaching them how to shoot as well, the bows and arrows, the archery piece. And then we have folks that are very good and advanced archers that are trying to add this piece with the horseback as well. And we have a youth league and an adult league. We're actually heading out to Fraser Park to Hidden Creek Ranch for some of our first competitions this May and June.
That is so cool. So you've got people on horseback shooting arrows, and you've got people throwing axes. You've got a giant slide. Monica, your insurance must be through the roof.
Well, it might be.
Okay. And then you have, so all these events are going to be going on this weekend, right? So
Yes.
And gosh, and like you said, hay rides and all kinds of fun stuff. You've got special events going on too, right? I think you just recently did a spring camp for youth who were on spring break from school.
We did. This was the very first year we've done 2 full weeks of spring camp. So we've done summer camp since we opened in 2016. It was kind of one of our core offerings. It's really my heart and passion. I started out when I was 15 years old working horseback summer camp. All the way, through college. So it's something that I really love. And then as an adult, I went on to help with Cub Scout Day Camp. And I find this act of getting outside and playing all day just really irresistible. So we have expanded our summer camp to add spring camp. And then this year, for the first time, we did 2 full weeks of spring camp that were absolutely out of sight.
Oh, very cool. And now I know last weekend was kind of the intersection of 3 major holidays for three of the major faiths. We had Easter, Passover, and Ramadan going on all in the same weekend. Did you guys do anything special for those springtime holidays?
We definitely did. So the springtime is really the most amazing time here at the farm, from the baby animals to just the incredible, unbeatable weather. We had egg hunts and what we call our spring fling going on the last few weekends. And we had families coming in from all over, hunting eggs, petting baby animals, making crafts. It was really, really fun. So this is an event that we started in 2017 as a one-day event, and now it's grown into 5 full days, and it may need to expand a little bit more. It was really, really fun. We could not have asked for nicer weather for the entire event, and it feels like we saw everyone who's ever been here. So we kind of picked up where we left off in 2020. We shut down right before this event in 2020.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking. We sat on 28,000 plastic eggs
wow.
because, like the rest of the world, we too shut down during that beginning time when COVID was, first around. And this really feels like we picked up right where we left off. So it was really, really fun to see all the families coming out, just enjoying the spring, meeting the babies, riding the horses, shooting the arrows. It was a blast.
Yeah, spring really is the best time to be out there on your farm and playing around and like you said, playing with the baby animals, but then as the hills are exploding with new growth, it's just a gorgeous thing. But you guys have events year round. You're not just a springtime facility. So if I've got a summertime or a fall birthday, you host birthday parties. How do folks get information or go about planning a birthday party out there at Gilchrist Farm?
So birthday parties are exceptionally fun. We have a full web page dedicated to it on our website at gilchristfarm.com, and then there's a birthday parties and events page. We host birthday parties for children and adults. We have a lot of really fun activities for the grown-ups as well, from wool spinning to cheese making to goat yoga. Any of our classes can be repurposed as a party topic. We also have that archery and axe throwing, which make a heck of a party. And then
Nice.
For the kids, we have pony rides and petting zoo, the wagon rides. We have all kinds of things. So parties, lots of fun. There's just space to spread out. And they're really not rushed here. So it feels like just a nice day to visit with friends and family, and there's something to do for everybody. So we do parties, we do graduation parties, we do weddings, quinceañeras, all of those types of things as well.
Oh, what a beautiful setting for a wedding. And, you mentioned, Gus, I think about a birthday party at a farm, perfect for younger kids. But how cool would it be for a group in their 20s or 30s to head out there with their friends, throw some axes, try their hand at archery, take a hayride? That would be just an absolute blast.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of team building and
cool.
And older adult birthday parties as well. We even did a surprise 60th not too long ago, and the beautiful woman's friends flew in from different states, and they did everything from cheese making to axe throwing. It was quite a diverse group. So much fun. But there's a little something for everyone. So and we've got plenty of shade, plenty of concrete, so the folks that are not that keen on being out can be out, but nicely sheltered.
Okay, Monica. So I've got a very self-serving question, but Sarah and I just met eyes as you were talking about team building. I know our company's in the process of planning our company's annual retreat. So if we were to do something like that for a private event, what size group can you accommodate? Can you handle like really big groups?
I can. We did Santa Monica's Tourism Bureau a couple years right pre-COVID with 120. We break up into teams and then we focus down and get nice and narrow. So we have so much space and we can do things on a rotation basis where some folks are shooting archery, some are throwing axes, some are milking goats, some are making cheese. Some are taking a wagon ride. So, yeah, we can accommodate nice big groups, but we can give it a really small feel and we can make it nice and intimate. It's lots of fun. Actually, over the fall, we did a really fun event for one of the smaller departments of the city of Santa Clarita, and they did a scarecrow making contest as part of their team building. Super fun. So we can be creative. We can offer a lot. We can also adapt and utilize the programming of the company or organization as well. So we love working to make events exceptionally special.
That sounds like so much fun. We need to take a quick commercial break. Sarah's going to call the boss, and it's going to be a beautiful weekend on the farm this weekend. And you've got a farm right here in your backyard, Santa Clarita. Monica Gilchrist, owner of Gilchrist Farm, joins us this morning. Gilchristfarm.com. They've got some other cool events coming up this weekend and in the weekends coming up. We're going to talk a little bit with her more about that when we get back. I'm Matt Watson, joined by the amazing producer, Sara McDaniels this morning, and this is SCVI and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson with Sara McDaniels. You're listening to SCVI and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley. We're joined this morning by owner of Gilchrist Farm, Monica Gilchrist. Gilchrist Farm is just up the road on Bouquet Canyon. It's, like I said, it's going to be a perfect weekend for a family trip to the farm. Or, you know what I was thinking? What about a date? Gilchrist Farm would be a great place for a first date, for a next date. What do you think, producer Sarah? How would you feel if you got home today and the Grow Bro said to you, we're going on a date this weekend, forget the kids, you and I are going to practice our archery, we're going to throw some axes, we're going to take a hayride, play with the goats. How's that sound for a date?
Sounds like fun. Sounds kind of like being outside all weekend, which is what we normally do in the yard.
You guys are an outdoor family.
So to do something fun outside. I really want to learn how to make cheese, though. She was talking about making cheese before the break, and you didn't bring that up. All he would have to say is, hey, baby, let's go learn how to make our own cheese, and I'm there.
So, now, Monica, you mentioned that you have goats. Do you guys do goat cheese up there? Can producer Sarah and her husband learn how to make goat cheese?
Yes, indeed. I have not yet updated the May classes. We're getting there. I'm a little behind on that. But we raise dairy goats and we milk them, right? We teach kids how to milk them. It's something you can do on the weekends starting in another month or two. And as part of that, we also make cheese. And we, like everybody during the COVID shutdown, we expanded our kitchen horizons and we learned how to make a few different types of cheese. So
what kind do you make?
Yeah, historically we had always done the goat cheese, the traditional chèvre.
Right.
And now we also offer mozzarella and we're working on some hard cheeses too. But you can come now as a private class, you can book immediately and we can work on mozzarella or chèvre. And then in mid to late May, we'll start offering our regular cheese making classes as well.
And like I said, there's no shortage of different activities that families, from the littles all the way up to the moms and dads, can engage in. Monica, one of the things that just really tickled me sideways, and I'm not sure why, do you guys still do the goat yoga?
We do. Actually, this is the season. So I mentioned earlier, we have 12 brand new babies. We have a few that are a little bit older as well. And those guys are the stars of the show for goat yoga. So we bring in, either we have a resident yoga instructor or we bring in outside yoga instructors. And we put a little fence around the perimeter and we invite those baby goats in and we always throw in a surprise animal or two. The pigs have joined before. The sheep are not into it. I can tell you the sheep do not care to yoga.
Okay.
See, pig yoga sounds like something I might be involved in.
Oh.
But it is goat yoga season. I didn't realize there was a season for goat yoga.
I did not know.
Well, we're a farm, and it turns out that, we get hot, and we get those nice farm smells, and it turns out people don't love to do yoga in all of that. So the springtime is the time to do it. So we have those baby goats bouncing all over the place. Yeah, they climb on people. They come and nibble you while you're stretching, and it really is a lot of fun.
That's adorable.
That is
They
awesome.
did, they have a yoga class as an alternative for PE at SCVI. And as sort of a celebration at the end of the semester, their PE or their yoga instructor brought in goats for a goat yoga. And my daughter broke the goat.
She broke the goat. How do you break a goat?
Well, so they were trying to get the goats to go around. There was a class of like 30 kids, 25 kids all spread out there on the floor in the Shakespeare Theater. And this goat decided it really loved my daughter. And so it just curled up next to her and wouldn't go anywhere.
It wouldn't jump on the yoga
It would only
participants.
climb on my They had two goats, and one of them decided that it belonged to my daughter. They sent me pictures. The instructor,
cute.
she's like, your daughter broke the goat.
Right. Very, very cute for your daughter, but no fun for the rest of the
fun
kids.
for the rest of the kids.
Now, Monica, you've also got a really fun event. It sounds like coming up. You've got your annual Family Day barbecue and camp out. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this will take place Sunday, May 29th, going into the Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, perfect.
So when we close to the public, we begin our private family camp out. This camp out is so much fun. It is all the joy of camping with none of the pain. All you need to do is bring your tent and your sleeping bags and your family, and we provide everything else. So families roll in about 2 o'clock as we're shutting to the public. We have 3 different areas to camp in. One is so nice and close to the bathrooms and your car. It's as low risk as it gets, and then we get further away. And then we offer full programming. So we put on an incredible barbecue with food we have grown here on the farm. We wake up and cook eggs that we gather the day before. It's our own homegrown sausage, bacon, pork chops. We do have vegetarian options as well. And then we do full programming. So you get to ride horses, shoot archery, make cheese, candle dipping. You get a choice of all kinds of activities. It's a huge rotation. You can do a lot. You can do a little. We do s'mores and we milk goats, and it is just so much fun. Folks sleep in their own tents. We wake up and start it all over again, and then they pack out and leave middle of the day Monday.
That sounds like so much fun. What a great way to spend a Memorial Day weekend. Now, I'm guessing that's probably a pretty popular event that sells out. How can folks get registered, get signed up before you guys, or are you already full?
We're not full yet. It does sell out because we do keep it to a size where you can enjoy all of the events and activities. So you can still enroll. It is on our website. There is a web page dedicated to it called Family Campout. And right there, you can register your family to join us, and it is a lot of fun.
That sounds like just, what an amazing time. And again, awesome for, couples, great for a whole family, people of all ages. That is absolutely amazing. Now, incredible springtime events, but you're gearing up for summer. Summer's just around the corner. You guys have summer camp coming up. What happens during summer camp at Gilchrist?
Well, we do. In fact, that Memorial Day campout is literally our turning of the corner.
Okay.
That takes place Sunday and Monday of Memorial Day. That Tuesday kicks off summer camp. So we start summer camp with 2 weeks of mini camp for our children under 5 years old. Our mini camp is the beginning of the month, so it's hopefully not quite as hot. Our mini camp is preschool style. It is geared for our youngest friends, including all the way down to 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
It is all the fun that we do at camp, but really geared preschool style. So they groom and ride ponies. They get to meet and milk the goats, all the different animals, gathering the eggs, doing the farm arts and crafts. So mini camp is those first 2 weeks of June, and then we turn over around the 13th of June all the way through the 5th of August, our full-day school-age farm camp, which is just an incredible program. It's 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's geared to be a week at a time, and we have kids that join us all summer for 2 weeks, for 1 week. Lots of returning kids, which is amazing. And they learn to ride horses. We have a full archery program. We do introduce mounted archery during summer camp. We have an extensive water play program. All of the small animals, they learn to spin wool, work with leather, candle dipping, bunnies, goats, all kinds of things. It's just a really, really fun. And we do a lot of traditional camp activities also, where the kids learn chants. They choose a group name. So a lot of traditional kind of summer camp feel at the farm, learning to ride horses, milking goats, doing incredible crafts. It's just, it's my favorite time of year.
And mom and dad, yes, the kids come home wicked dirty, but they also come home wicked tired. They will be in bed on time that day. Monica.
This is very true.
Gosh, you spent years as an executive with nonprofits, but now you've gone back to your family farm and opened it up to the public, and you got really busy. You guys do not slow down all year long, do you?
We don't. We used to have a little slow period, but that has gone by the wayside, and we couldn't be more grateful. We are so filled with absolute gratitude that this business has grown, that we were able to survive these really last difficult couple of years when a lot of local businesses didn't get that privilege. We're just thrilled that we're seeing kids that came to our very first summer camp in 2016. They're driving their cars and working for us now.
Oh, wow.
Like with keys and cars. It's I'm adjusting slowly, but it's beautiful to watch the kids, the families grow with us.
That's a testament to the amazing activities I'm sure that you put on. It just sounds like so much fun. Who, once they've been there, wouldn't want to go back over and over again? Now, Monica, I'm looking at the map. You guys are literally about 2 miles away from my house in Saugus, but I'm a city kid. I don't have boots. I don't have a cowboy hat. So what's the protocol at your place? If am I going to feel out of place if I'm rocking my Dodger cap and sneakers?
Your sneakers and cap are just fine. I just always recommend closed-toed shoes because, when you're in there visiting the goats, they will nibble your toes if you expose them. But other than that, everyone is welcome. We have an incredible diversity of people coming in, lots and lots of locals. We do get folks from L.A., from Palmdale, from Long Beach. It's been really amazing, the reach. Folks just don't have that access to farms anymore. And so we do have a draw far and wide, all kinds of people. We get city slickers. We get a lot of people remembering their family farms growing up, which is always beautiful to hear the stories.
I bet. And gosh, springtime couldn't be a better time for it. You've got horseback riding, hay rides, axe throwing, archery, goat yoga, playing around with the goats, different kinds of activities for people of all ages. Take the kids, take a date, go by yourself. Monica, you're just sounds like so much fun. I'm getting really excited about a weekend on the farm. I want to thank you so much. Go ahead.
One more quick plug. We're going to be out at the KHTS Home and Garden Show. We don't get out much, but when we do it big. So we're going to be out at the KHTS Home and Garden Show on April 30th, May 1st, bringing the farm to the park.
Are you bringing the goats?
We're bringing the goats.
Oh, now Patty's going to be out there at the park at the Home and Garden Show next weekend. So Patty, maybe put on your yoga pants, do a little goat yoga with Monica out there at Central Park.
Absolutely.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. So if you can't make it this weekend, if you can, you got to get up there. They're doing all kinds of fun stuff. But if you can't make it this weekend, next weekend at Central Park is the KHTS Home and Garden Show. Get out there and sample some of the wares and then all the other great things going on at the Home and Garden Show. Monica, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have a fun weekend out there at Gilchrist Farm.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Monica Gilchrist, owner of Gilchrist Farm on Bouquet Canyon, gilchristfarm.com for more information. That's gilchristfarm.com for information about their summer camps, that barbecue, the Memorial Day barbecue
That
and
sounds
camp out
fun.
sounds like so much fun. Spend a Sunday night, Monday, all day up there. Just sounds like so much fun. Really, really exciting. One more time, gilchristfarm.com for more information. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. I'm Matt Watson, joined by producer Sara McDaniels. You're listening to SCVI and I Lead School's Eye on the Valley. We'll be right back on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson with producer Sara McDaniels. You are listening to SCVI and I Lead School's Eye on the Valley. We just talked to Monica Gilchrist from Gilchrist Farm. What a great way to spend the weekend with the family. Producer Sara, what do you got going on this weekend?
Oh my goodness! I think I might have to check out Gilchrist Farm. That sounded like
That
so much
sounds
fun.
like a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. Tomorrow, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get up to the farm this weekend. Got a lot going on. I'm heading out to one of the local elementary schools in my neighborhood, Highlands Elementary. They're celebrating their 50+1 birthday tomorrow. Weren't able to celebrate the 50th last year, and so they're throwing a 51st this year, and so I'm going to be hanging out there. It's going to be like a school fair kind of event. It'll be lots of fun. And then Sunday, I'm celebrating Easter all over again. I get a second shot at Easter. We've got some friends that are celebrating Orthodox Easter, so we're going to have brunch in this amazing weather that we're having. So, and then tonight, Friday night, I think I'm going to try to catch a baseball doubleheader.
Oh yeah.
You know, well, Sara, you know, our hometown hero, Hunter Green. He is a phenom rookie pitcher for the Reds.
Amazing.
Hunter, he and his family live right here in Stevenson Ranch. Hunter is, as you know, an alumnus of SCVI. Left SCVI in 8th grade so that he could go play baseball with a major program down at Notre Dame. Here in, what are they, in Sherman Oaks? Woodland Hills, something like that.
I think it's actually North Hollywood.
Is it North Hollywood?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, right there on the border there.
Okay, really, well, he started making a name for himself at about 7 years old, but really set the world on fire. The kid was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was just 17. Drafted number 2 overall in the 2017 draft, second pick, and it's interesting. Hunter's so good. It was a disappointment when he was drafted 2nd overall in that 2017 draft, but he went to the Reds and has been working in the farm system. Actually got set back a year because of Tommy John surgery, but rehabbed, came back literally stronger than ever. He was throwing about 102 miles an hour before the surgery, and last year in the minors, he actually hit 104 a couple of times with his fastball. Absolutely incredible. Well, anyways, yeah, with heat like that, and he's got control of it, he got the call up this year. He started the year with the Reds. He pitched his first game a couple weeks ago, and I know you were watching on TV. He was in Atlanta. He got, gosh, how about this for a challenge for your first couple of games? Your very first major league start, you pitch against the reigning world champions, the Atlanta Braves, and Hunter went a full 5 innings.
Did
7 strikeouts and got the win.
he did?
Just an incredible first outing, you know. And you think when you're 22 years old, getting your first start, you're the youngest pitcher in the major leagues, the youngest starting pitcher in the major leagues. You're going to be nervous. It's going to take a while to. Nope, he pitched a perfect first inning, no nerves whatsoever. And then so then you beat the world champion Braves that first outing, and for your second outing, you come back home, talk about nerves, because, you know, he grew up going to Dodger Stadium, and you got to pitch against the league's best lineup, you know, the best lineup in the country, with just all the powers that the Dodgers will throw at a pitcher. Toughest lineup in Major League Baseball, but Hunter goes five shutout innings, comes back out in the 6th. He's got 6 strikeouts. Unfortunately, he didn't get much support from his hitters. You know, we talk about great lineups of the major leagues. The Reds are not one of them.
It was a pitching battle.
It was
game.
Oh yeah, Julio Urias and Hunter were throwing a phenomenal game. A couple of the hitters for the Dodgers did finally catch up to Hunter, and he left the game, I think, with a trailing 2-0, and eventually gave up a 3rd run as his replacement came in. But did you realize that Hunter actually set a record? He made history that night.
They talked about that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of a caveat on it, but that night, what was it, last Saturday night, Hunter threw 39 pitches over 100 miles an hour, which is the most in recorded baseball history.
That's crazy.
And you'll say, Matt, they've been playing baseball for 150 years. Well, this is the StatCast era, which started in 2008. But still, that's been what? About 13, 14
12,
years, and
yeah.
Nobody's thrown that many pitches. There's
14.
a lot of guys that can rear back and throw the ball 101. Not a lot of guys. There's a few guys
Yeah.
that can throw the ball 101, 102.
Skill.
But they can do it for an inning or two before they start slowing down. Hunter was in the 6th inning still hitting 102. And so, he's just having an incredible season already. He's only pitched twice. Well, he's going for the 3rd time this afternoon. He's going to be playing against the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they're in St. Louis this afternoon. But the game is 3:40 local time. His nickname, and he actually has it. They produced a glove, a specialized glove just for him that's got HG3 engraved right there on the, HG 103 right there on the side. Because he's known for 103 mile an hour fastball.
That's amazing. Well, they're gonna have to change it maybe next year to
right,
104,
HG
105.
Right.
Okay.
And here's the thing that's not fair, Sarah. Okay, so big old bull out there on the mound, throwing the ball 102, 103 miles an hour. What's not cool is that he can paint the corners of the plate with his slider. He's got an 89 mile an hour slider.
I think that's pretty cool.
That he's got just amazing control over. It's just, as a hitter, and see, I was never much for defense, but I could hit. As a hitter, no, that's not fair. You can't do that to guys. So anyways, yeah, Hunter's going against the Cardinals
Okay,
today.
so what I think is not fair is this new compromise with the designated hitter, which I've always hated designated hitters. Don't get me wrong.
Because Hunter hits.
He can hit.
He hits, yeah.
And that's another amazing thing about him is he's a really great batter.
Yeah.
And we won't get to see it this year. And
Right.
that's another advantage that he gives to the Reds that they
Yeah.
lost out on.
Yeah, and that was one of the things he was excited about, getting drafted into the National League that didn't have the designated hitter. And this year when he comes
No
up,
league should have that.
yeah, well, I agree. I'm a baseball purist. I liked when the National League, the pitchers. Patty's grimacing here. Patty, you like the DH?
I love the universal DH. I don't
Are
like.
you kidding?
I don't like pitchers hitting. I really. It slows it down.
Oh.
I'm not a purist. I'm sorry. I'm
You're not.
Alrighty. So, and I mentioned I'm looking forward to a baseball doubleheader. Yeah, definitely going to catch Hunter at 3:40 today, and then a couple hours later the Dodgers start. The Dodgers started out. They got a little bit of a slow start, and you say, Matt, what's new? The Dodgers always start out slow. Well, it was only a slow weekend. They dropped 2 of their first 3 games against the lowly Colorado Rockies. Although Colorado was projected to be one of the worst teams in baseball this year, their pitching is really helping them out. Go figure, up in Denver, and it's the pitching that's coming through, not the hitting. But yeah, the Dodgers dropped 2 of their first 3 in Colorado, but then they went on a tear. They won 8 in a row, sweeping the Twins, sweeping Hunter's Reds, until they finally dropped just 1 out of 3 that they played against those champs, the Atlanta Braves, and then they jumped on the bus. They're heading down to San Diego. That one loss that they lost to the Braves, they won. Gosh, what is it? And Patty, you're going to have to check me on this if you know it.
Yeah.
They won 8 in a row. They're, 10 of their last 11, I think they've won?
Yes, they've lost twice. They've lost. No,
Right.
I think maybe thrice now.
Well, they lost once against Colorado. They lost once against the Braves.
Oh, no, then it is just twice, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm just going by memory. But the toughest one, when the Braves beat them, was to have Kenley Jansen come out of the
Yeah.
Braves bullpen. Kenley Jansen has more saves than any relief pitcher in Dodger history, and that trade over the winter sent Kenley to the Braves. It was tough to see him coming out of the bullpen to shut the Dodgers down. It was tough to see him not in blue.
But Freddie on his
But
first
see, we
at
traded
bat.
him for Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman, one of the best hitters in baseball. He was the one that made the Dodgers' blood go cold in the playoffs last year. And Freddie's hitting .333 this year. And he has gotten an incredible reception by the fans. In fact, that first hit that he got at Dodger Stadium,
Against
he
the
doubled off the
Braves.
wall, got a standing ovation that lasted
Oh, yeah, that one.
several minutes. And then, his first 2 home runs of the year were against his old team that kind of disrespected him over the winter. So Freddie's been a great addition. So I'm looking forward to a fantastic doubleheader tonight. Reds with hometown hero Hunter Green from Stevenson Park going at 3:40. Dodgers a little after 6 against the Padres. We are going to take a break because I'm getting a little bit too amped up. But when we come back, producer Sarah's going to turn the tables on me and interview me. But it's not just me. I'm going to be joined by 9-year-old I-Lead student who recently graduated from medical school. Don't believe me? Stick around and see if I'm lying. I'm Matt Watson. She's Sara McDaniels. You're listening to SCVI and I-Lead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 on the AM side. This is Sara McDaniels. I am your host for now, and you're listening to SCVI and I-Lead School's Eye on the Valley. We're coming to you live from KHTS Studios here at the center of Main Street and beautiful downtown Newhall. My first and only guest, or next guests, is actually our usual host, Matt Watson. And he's joining us today with one of our amazing learners from I-Lead Exploration, I-Lead's homeschool program, and her mom. So this is Lucy Chisholm and her mom, Harmony. Welcome, ladies. Good morning.
Morning, thank you. Yeah, good morning.
We're so glad that you could join us. All right, so first, I definitely want to hear from you, Lucy, but I just want to check in with Mom. So can you tell me a little bit about how you guys found I-Lead and what made you decide to go homeschooling route and participate in I-Lead's program?
Homeschool was something I was always interested in. I studied to be a school teacher in college, but chose not to be a teacher. I found it was not what I wanted for my future, but I never felt that education was something that I wasn't open to for my own children someday. So when my husband and I decided to have a baby, we decided to homeschool because he's a visual effects supervisor and we travel a lot. And so in order for us to be together as a family, homeschool was the best answer. And it just felt natural for us to take that route. It became a daunting idea, though, the closer to kindergarten it became. So I was planning to file a PSA at first.
Okay.
And I didn't know, the whole thing was confusing. Charters, PSA, all of that. So I just decided to do the same thing my younger sister had done with her 4 kids. But then I ran into a mom at an art class at out in the valley, and she couldn't say enough great things about I-Lead and the experience that her daughter had and that she had with the program. So I looked into it, and 2 weeks before school started, I was able to get a spot. Back then it wasn't as crowded as it is now.
It was earlier on.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And so I applied, we got in, and I haven't even thought about a PSA since. It's been a fantastic experience.
So real quick for listeners who may not understand what a PSA is, if you've looked into homeschooling, you know what a PSA is, especially right now with all the homeschool charters struggling to fit the growth that happened with the pandemic. So a lot of people a couple of years ago knew what a PSA was, but could you talk a little bit about what that is, the paperwork you have to file when you're going to homeschool?
I don't even know the details, to be honest, because once I signed up because you don't have to sign up with a PSA until October of the school year. And since we ended up signing up for I-Lead in August, I didn't even have to really dive into it.
So my understanding, and I don't even know, Mr. Watson, maybe you remember what the initials PSA stand for, but my understanding is it's the paperwork where if you're not going to be affiliated with a school or an accredited school and you're going to home study completely on your own without going through a school system, an online system, then it's a paperwork that you need to file with the state to show that you're actually educating your children the way that you're supposed to be educating your children. They're learning, you're using curriculum, that sort of stuff. And it's just a little bit more paperwork. One of the things that's really nice about being with I-Lead Exploration, I think, is you don't have to do all of that paperwork, but you still get stipend, you still get some funding.
Yes.
And iLead Exploration manages and makes sure that you have what you need to be successful as a homeschooling parent.
Well,
Correct.
in California, every child needs to be taught by a certificated teacher. And so a PSA is a private school affidavit.
Thank you.
Which basically says you, as a family, are certifying that your child's curriculum is going to be covered by a credentialed teacher. So, Harmony, if you had your credential, then you would be able to teach your child, maybe even other people's children, as a private school. With our homeschool program, you have your EF, which is a credentialed teacher that oversees Lucy's curriculum, and then, like Sara said, that also comes with curricular funds that you get to use kind of at your discretion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, so what are you liking about the program? Either one of you. Yeah, Lucy, go for it. What are you liking about being a part of homeschooling with your mom and with Exploration?
Well, I enjoy that I get to do school from the comfort of my own home. I like that. And I like that I can take my time on school, or I can work ahead if I want to.
Oh, that's great. So do you do that sometimes? Are there some areas you work ahead in?
Yes.
Okay. And then let me double check with you. You told me during the break, but go ahead and tell our listeners what grade you're in.
I'm in 4th grade.
4th grade. And you've been homeschooling since kindergarten, right? Okay.
Yes.
And what a wonderful way to go. So what do you like moving ahead? And then are there certain areas like that are a little bit more challenging for you?
Yes, I would say so.
Oh yeah? Okay, and how do you power through that?
Well, I tell myself I can do this, and I do it.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to check in with Mr. Watson here. Okay, Mr. Watson. Tell us a little about this experience that you set up. Now, this is sort of a new thing that you had done with, you've been providing curriculum for iLead, oh my goodness, going back years and years and years. That's your day job, right?
Now, yeah.
I mean, it's very funny to us that I'm interviewing you here because I'm sure people think this is all you do for us, but this is just such a small sliver doing the radio show with us. And this was the first time that you had set up a project with the iLead Exploration learners, am I correct?
Right, yeah. Because as you know, and our listeners probably know, our campuses and our online school are full project-based learning, which is it's much more of an experiential type of learning. We probably, as adults, we all remember thinking back in school, when is this ever going to help me in the real world? Well, we kind of eliminate that from the get-go with project-based learning because we have our kids attack real-world projects that incorporate the curriculum. And so the curriculum itself, the learning almost becomes, I don't want to say secondary because it's very much at the forefront, but for the kids sometimes it seems like that because it's just the subject matter, the standards become necessary to learn in order to complete the project, whatever project they're working on. And our staff, has created hundreds of projects over the last decade and a half. And why this is important is because we don't tend to remember facts, theorems, we remember experiences. That's what strikes a chord in our emotions. That's, if we think back to our own schooling, what we remember most, they typically tend to be those experiences, right? And then the second reason is we put the learning in our learners' hands, in our students' hands. So we say, this is the problem, this is the project. We start with a driving question, one great big huge question, and they have to answer that question through the development and solution of a project. And so they really get to do that how they see fit, and they can bring in their own personal talents, their own preferences, their creativity. So we've been doing this on our campuses at iLead for the last decade and a half. And this particular project that I offered to our exploration families recently is a project that we actually launched my first year with iLead back in 2012. Yeah, 10 years ago. But with homeschool, it's a little bit different. And so working with our homeschool leaders over the last couple of years, I've been asking, okay, how can we bring more project-based learning to our homeschool families? And that's a challenge when you think of it, right? Because, we're not the teachers. You are, Harmony. And so...
Plus, it's naturally collaborative. Project-based learning is so
Right.
naturally collaborative, and you may not necessarily have other learners that you can collaborate with. I mean, for sure during the pandemic, that could have posed a problem if it wasn't for the beautiful things like Zoom and email and Google Docs and all that.
Well, and it's interesting because the pandemic kind of did solve that problem for us when, it's hasn't always been there, but for, the last 8-10 years, this type of virtual learning has been available. We just haven't taken full advantage of it. We saw with distance learning how it could work. And so at the beginning of this year, we said, okay, let's give this a shot. And so we decided to fly this class, kind of put out a flyer and offer it to 4th and 5th grade learners. And they opted into the project. We had about 50 families sign up, about 38 families actually ended up showing up. And so, I had a big class.
Wow, that's a huge group.
Yeah. So this project that we offered, yes, I did decide on this one because it's always been my favorite project. And this was my 3rd time running it now. Did it twice when I was in the classroom at SCVI. And it's called What's Wrong with Harriet? Really fun project where we bring in and those of you on Facebook Live can see me use the air quotes, we bring in a patient who is sick, and the learners are challenged to figure out, again, the driving question,
Harriet?
what's wrong with Harriet, right? So the project starts at graduation from medical school, and the kids get their, again, here we go, air quotes, their doctorate, and they get their first patient, they make an appointment, and from there they have to come up with questions. Okay, we have someone coming in that's sick, we don't know what she has, we don't know what's wrong with her, so let's figure out, they come up with a list of questions to ask.
So let me ask you if you could help us or help our listeners understand, because I know this because I work for the schools. But what state standards are you trying to reach? What is it the kids are trying to learn with figuring out what's the matter with Harriet?
Okay, so some of the science standards that come in are pretty obvious, and they work very closely on the different systems of the human body. And so whenever we make Harriet sick, we've always looked for infirmities that envelop multiple systems of the body. So they study the circulatory system, the respiratory system, and the digestive system. I forgot that one there. And so we always try to find something that involves at least 2, if not all 3 of those. And yeah, we have a patient come in. Typically when we're in the classroom and, we had 100, 110, 120 different families, there was always a mom or a dad who was a nurse that had a good medical background and could think on their feet, because that's going to be important. You never know what the learners are going to ask. And so knowing what the diagnosis is, they can present the proper symptoms, answer the questions correctly. It was a little bit more of a challenge this time for several reasons. First, when I'm in the classroom, I've got already 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of relationship with my class, and they know me, I know them. And second, they're familiar with project-based learning.
Right.
So that presented a challenge working with homeschoolers this time, because we didn't have a relationship. I just sent out a flyer, families signed up, they didn't know who I was, and it was kind of funny because the very first class, I start seeing all these folks in my Zoom waiting room, and before I even let them in, I started playing Pomp and Circumstance.
Oh, fun.
We started with Pomp and Circumstance. I let them in and started talking about how we're rushing around backstage getting ready for graduation. Your families are taking their seats. We're going to start in just a moment. And then I started announcing their names and giving them digital copies of their medical degree. It was really cute, Sarah, because a lot of the kids were confused at first. They didn't know.
I can understand that.
In the classroom, we start every project with an entry event. And we try to make it as authentic as possible. But the kids know, right? Today's the day we're going to launch our new project. I wonder what it is. It starts out with something fun. They know that their teachers are pretending or doing whatever. And sometimes we're not pretending, right? Sometimes it is something that really involves the community. But some of the learners were really confused. And they were unmuting their microphones and saying, no, I'm in 4th grade. I'm not in medical school. And I would say,
Am I in the right Zoom?
Please take your seat. We'll be with you in just a moment, doctor. I'm so proud of you. And, after a couple of minutes, and when I am calling names of kids that are in the Zoom, they started to catch on. And I could see them in the chat. They're chatting with each other. Oh, I get it. He's pretending or whatever. And then the cutest thing in the world that I never anticipated, the little filters they have in Zoom, some of the learners started putting on their mortars, their caps for graduation. And, it's so cool. And so they did that for the first session. And then right away I just jumped in and calling them doctors the whole time, and congratulations on your graduation, but we don't have much time to celebrate. You have a new patient that's emailing you. I even created an email address for Harriet so that they could email her.
Okay.
And we launched just straight into the project, and the kids went at it from there. And if you can imagine, well, I know you can, Sara, but if our listeners can imagine, they just had that one question to answer. What's wrong with Harriet?
Yeah.
The idea behind project-based learning is you give them this huge overarching question that doesn't lead right away to an answer. It leads to more questions, right? So when I say what's wrong with Harriet, you're not going to come up with an answer right away. What do you mean? Who's Harriet?
Yeah, there's
What do you
no
mean,
index at the back of the textbook.
Is she
that's
sick?
Explain
Is
it.
she,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know. That's all stuff that you have to figure out. Go. And that leads the learners into what we call inquiry-based learning. This question leads them to another question, which leads them to more questions, and the answers to those different questions are the curriculum, right? So it obviously takes a lot of time to build the project in the beginning, but then what's fun as a teacher is once you do the planning, you're kind of done. You hand the school off to the kids. It makes my job so much easier, so much more fun, because now I get to just what we call facilitate. That's why
Right.
we call our people facilitators. And I get to just work with the kids. I can kind of be a resident expert, but I don't even have to know all the answers. Because 9 times out of 10, when they ask me a question, the answer is, well, I'm not sure. Even if I am sure. I'm not sure. Let's find out.
Let's look it
right?
up, yeah.
And they do all the work, which is really empowering for the learners, right? Because now they're truly in control of their studies. So it's a really, really fun approach, and that's how we started this project.
I love it. I love it. How are we doing on time? We're okay. All right. Good, because I wanted to ask Lucy a question. So what did you think of that first day when Mr. Watson's being
Actually,
a little
I don't know
silly?
that Lucy was there on that first day.
Oh.
You guys were you traveling or something was going on? You guys came in after graduation, if you will.
After graduation,
She's
I
a
missed
transfer
the
medical
email.
student.
Yeah, I missed the email.
Oh.
That's all it was. I missed the email, and we ended up missing the first 2 classes. We caught up.
Okay.
But, I was super bummed. And hearing how you explain it now, I'm like, oh, that would have been so fun to see.
Oh, wow. Oh, good. Oh, good. All right. So what did you have to do with this project, Lucy? Like, what was your first steps in this project?
Well, I had to, so like work-wise for it? Like what I had
Sure.
to do? Okay. I think the first thing that I did was write out my glossary for a bunch of
Definition?
medical terms.
Mm-hmm. So, like Mr. Watson was talking about, you guys were learning about the circulatory system, the digestive system, and
The
was it
respiratory.
Respiratory. I
Respiratory,
wanted
yeah.
to say pulmonary. I
Yeah.
was grasping for that word. Okay, and all of these things came into account when you were trying to figure out what was the matter with Harriet. Now, how did you find out like what Harriet's symptoms were?
Well, we interviewed her. I came up with a list of questions, and I asked her my questions with the rest of my group. Like, for instance, what are some of your symptoms? Or I would ask her questions like that. And then she gave me enough information for me to look up her illness.
Okay. And you did I heard you say you did this with a group, your team?
Yes, team 2.
That makes a lot of sense because, I unfortunately have spent some time visiting people in hospitals, and it's always a team. There's never just one physician that does all the work. So,
Well, and
that
that's
makes
what's
perfect
interesting
sense.
about the way we used to or traditionally do school, right? The world isn't like that. We always work with teams. Mechanics work in groups and teams to solve different problems, mechanical problems. Doctors obviously work in teams. You and I collaborate with each other and with dozens of people every day. That's the normal, natural way we work. But for some reason in school, no. If you're collaborating, we call that cheating, and you have to do all the work on your own. And it's an artificial way of working, and it teaches our kids to isolate themselves, and it doesn't teach them those collaboration skills that then they're going to need when they do get into college and their profession.
And career, absolutely. Okay, so we are talking with homeschool learner Lucy Chisholm and mom Harmony. Lucy recently became a doctor for a project that she participated in, an ILEAD exploration, and we're going to hear more about that when we come back. You're listening to Eye on the Valley on KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 on the AM side. This is SCVI and I Leads, Eye on the Valley, and I'm your host, Sara McDaniels. Our guests this morning are Matt Watson, which I think is very funny that you're our guest this morning,
I love it.
with I Lead Schools, along with Lucy Chisholm and her mother, Harmony. Lucy's a learner with iLead Exploration, iLead's home study program, and she's recently participated in a project called What's Wrong with Harriet? So I can't wait to hear more about this. So before we went to the break, Lucy, you were talking about how you and your team had to interview Harriet, ask her some questions, just like a medical team would do. What brings you to the doctor today, Harriet? What are your symptoms? And do some research and find out. So what were some of the first suspicions or ideas you had for Harriet's diagnosis?
I thought it could be pneumonia, but then we looked farther into that and I decided no. We also thought it could be bronchitis, I think it was. But then we looked into that and also no.
I find that really interesting and really fascinating because I hear this a lot from our STEAM director at iLead Schools about real world science and how you come up with an idea, a hypothesis, and you test it and you find out if it's accurate, and it may not be accurate, but that even, what do you call it, like, how should I say, making a mistake or coming up with a wrong diagnosis leads you to a better place, right? Because then you had to look at it and go, does it match all the symptoms of pneumonia? Oh, wait, no, this part doesn't match up. And it helps give you more information. And that's, how science works.
Well, yeah, and what's interesting, Sarah, is I mentioned we brought in a colleague of ours, Tina Toval, was Harriet. She was our patient. She was actually a co-creator of this project 10 years ago with Christine Konishiga and I. And so she was pretending to be sick. And as Lucy said, they asked her all of these different questions, but then she left. And the kids kept working. They kept investigating. Well, I had set up an email address with her pseudonym, and the kids discovered that they had more questions, right? So, for example, some of the kids started asking, well, are her lips turning blue? Because that's I think it's one of the symptoms of
Pneumonia.
Okay. And I didn't know that. And so I thought, blue lips, I don't know. And so I gave the kids her fake email address, and then I would answer. That was me answering. Sorry, Lucy. Yeah, right?
Shock, you just pulled the curtain behind the Wizard of Oz.
Pulled the curtain on the wizard, right?
On Lucy's face, Mr. Watson.
So,
my goodness.
yeah, they would email Harriet and ask follow-up questions, right, as they're testing their hypothesis, which I thought was absolutely perfect. And, some kids were asking, have you traveled out of the country? And were you this? Were you that? It was really neat because project-based learning in its best form is real, right? Where you get out into the community's having a problem. We saw at iLead Agua Dulce recently, some of the learners discovered a problem in that the traffic was driving past their school too quickly. And so they lobbied some of the local politicians to put in, I think it's called a visual speed bump.
Right.
So that's something that's obviously real, right? You can't always present those 100% real scenarios, and so you do simulated scenarios. And we really straddled the line because the kids learned pretty quickly that whatever Harriet had, she probably got from her mom when she was visiting her over the holidays. and the kids were really worried, and they're emailing Harriet telling her, "Would you please have your mother get to the doctor? We're worried about her."
That's wonderful.
It was so sweet. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's what I've heard a lot of people call project-based learning. A more accurate term might be problem-based learning or problem-solving.
Well, the
learning.
two are a little bit
Yeah.
different. Project-based learning tends to incorporate several different problems, where problem-based learning oftentimes is specifically to one subject matter,
Okay.
like in math
Okay.
or in science.
That
yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. All right. So, Harmony, I want to ask, as a parent, I'm not sure how involved you were, but I think you strike me as a pretty involved parent. What was it like watching this project unfold together?
It was amazing to watch Lucy. I have all the confidence in the world in her ability to learn and think critically. But this was new for her. We didn't know Google Drive at all. So there was a learning curve with that. That was a requirement of the class, along with the amount of studying that she had to do to figure out what was going on with Harriet. And it was amazing to watch her piece it all together. And as soon as she read about tuberculosis, she knew in her heart of hearts that that's what Harriet had. Like I asked her, well, are you sure it's this? Do you want to keep looking at other illnesses? Because we'd already looked at bronchitis and pneumonia and a few others, Lyme disease. I don't remember what else now. And she's like, nope, this is what she has. This is what I'm going for. I'm like, okay, can you back it up with all the information, all the information that you're learning with with all the systems? And she said, yes. And then she would tell me exactly what it was. So it was really great to see her put those critical thinking skills to action in a way that we don't typically do at home with our home learning. We have a great curriculum that we follow, but it's not like this at all. This is completely different from any experience she's had.
All right, so I'm going to put you in a spot. Do you think as a parent you might incorporate some more projects into Lucy's future homeschooling? Or
I would love to.
Okay.
It's a learning curve for me to think that way also. So I'll have to do some research.
We've got an expert right here who could help you with that. I'm just saying. He's been
love to help
great
out.
with that. Yeah.
But I think also what was great about this program, and I'd actually like to do it in person, is the fact that there were other children involved. And she was able to listen to other questions, and that would spark other questions in her mind. And she was able to use that as part of her research. And I feel like in homeschool, we often miss out on that because it's just the two of us at home in our schoolroom, doing all of our subjects together. And the area of the valley that we live in, there just aren't a whole lot of classes that are
Available.
offered. Yeah.
Okay.
So doing Zoom is great. It allowed her to participate in this class with other learners and feel like there's that, school environment almost.
Right.
It'd be even better if we could do this in person next time.
Yeah.
I think it would be even more exciting
so
for her.
you gonna offer it, you think, in person maybe? Or
Gosh, that'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be
If we
exciting.
can get folks close enough geographically, gosh, I would love that. I would love that. But Sarah, you can hear as Harmony's talking, I'm looking at it through my teacher lens, right? And I'm thinking, okay, now just think about what that implies for Lucy. Yes, she learned all those rigorous science standards, and obviously there's a lot of English language arts. There's reading, writing, and then we get into research.
Right.
Problem solving. We talked about the tech standards that I brought in a lot of tech standards. There's a reason I wanted them using Google Drive. That's the dominant tool that kids are using and that adults are using to collaborate. But they learn collaboration, communication, like you mentioned, Harmony, presenting a thesis and supporting that thesis
That's what
with
I wanted
evidence.
to ask Lucy
All
about.
this really important stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, so your mom had mentioned that when you made your decision, when you came up with your diagnosis, you were sure. You knew what it was, and
Yes.
something wonderful that I heard Mom say was, okay, well, you've got to, I'm trying to remember the words you used, but you've got to prove it. You got to back it up. So what was that like, coming up with the diagnosis? How did it feel to finally look at all the evidence and decide on something?
It felt like I was almost there, and I was sure that she had this certain illness.
What kind of confidence did you feel when you had the information you needed to back it up?
I felt like I was.
I totally put him on the spot. That's my fault. I'm sorry. It wasn't even a nervous
I could tell
question.
you as a mom, I could just see it in her face.
Yeah.
She's that kind of person anyway. She's especially this way in art.
Okay.
Like she just knows. It blows my mind watching her do art because it's so fluid. And she was able, I saw the same response to her in this situation.
In the sciences and the
Once
language,
she
it's okay.
put all those pieces, it's almost like a puzzle. She put all those pieces of that puzzle together.
I like that.
And the picture was very clear to her of what those weird looking pieces put together actually are.
Okay. And so now, Lucy, what was your diagnosis? What did you come up with?
I came up with tuberculosis.
And I'm going to ask the $1 million question. Were you correct?
Yes, I was.
That's awesome. I love it. So you pieced together all the information, figured it out. So let me ask you, after an experience like this, I hear that you love art, which is something
Yes.
that matters a lot to me. We can talk about that later. So after this experience, is it something that you might consider going into a medical field, becoming a physician? Is it something that's been on your mind before?
Well, I have thought about it, but probably not. Other stuff grasps my attention more than this, even though this is fun.
It had to be great just to have that experience now, because you'll know for the rest of, your life when you become an adult, when, you have to see a physician, you'll understand, like, okay, wait, they need me to give them more information so they can help me figure out what this problem is, right? And how, one system affects another system. So you learn so much. All right, Mr. Watson, are you going to be able to do projects like this in the future?
Well, yeah, that's absolutely the idea. This was a pilot project, and it was interesting. After all of my 4th and 5th grade doctors celebrated their correct diagnosis, and it was interesting. Some of them did go with pneumonia or viral bronchitis or bacterial bronchitis. I don't remember. There were several different diagnoses. Even they were celebrating, even though they had gotten the diagnosis wrong, because they had done well. And I think it's interesting. There were kids that got the answer wrong, but still scored perfectly on our rubric. And so after they had left, the 2 directors of our homeschool program stayed on the line. They were super excited, and they were asking... they just played right into my hand, because just like my learners, I was able to get them to ask the questions that I wanted them to ask. And they said, okay, Matt, what's next? How can we train our EFs, which is our educational facilitators? How can we train them how to present these types of projects in the future? And it is a challenge. And it's with homeschool, it's got to be something that's optional, right? Because you've got your choice of... not any curriculum, but a wide variety of curriculum in every subject area. But my idea is that each one of our, we've got over 100 EFs. Wow. Each one of them would deliver 1, maybe 2 projects a year that kids could opt into, kind of as an a la carte menu, right? So if you've got 100 EFs, you've now got 100 projects that span the 13 grade levels that we offer, and then kids could opt in, whether it's a single grade level, single subject, or multiple subjects across 2, maybe even 3 grade levels. That even though you don't know the EF, you can say, oh, that math project sounds really cool. I want to do that for my math over the next quarter, or they call them learning periods, over the next month or so. And so you can imagine you can continue to work with the same homeschool curriculum you're currently working with, or you can put that on pause and take that subject matter through this project or that project. Requires a lot of collaboration, so we're going to have to talk about it quite a bit. But some of the families that were on the project are also EFs. And so we've got a lot of excitement, and we're hoping to build not just 1 or 2 that we offer to a couple of grade levels each year, but we're hoping that we'll have we're hoping to have maybe half a dozen for every grade level real soon.
That would be fantastic, especially if you think you've got 100 EFs, if they, are interested in different areas. Although I'm sure they will want to collaborate in some areas.
Well, that's the idea of synergy, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine if you're an EF, you might have families that run the grade level spectrum. So you've got high schoolers, junior high schoolers, elementary school kids, but your wheelhouse is maybe 6th grade. So you teach a 6th grade project. And for your 12th graders, there's somebody else teaching several different 12th grade projects.
That's wonderful. I think part of my favorite part of this process was hearing from you after, because Matt and I do collaborate on a lot of different projects. We did not collaborate at all on this project, but there were a couple of times where he and I had to go into a meeting shortly after he was working with this group, and he was just floating on air. He was so alive. He was like, oh my gosh, the coolest thing happened today. Let me tell you about this before we get into our meeting.
Lucy,
He
forgive the
enjoyed
expression,
it.
but I was giddy as a schoolgirl.
He was
I think I had more fun with this project than you did.
Happy. Oh, I don't know. It looks like Lucy had a good time. Did you have a good time with it?
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay. And so if there are other projects that are available, like Mr. Watson was talking about, you think you might participate in them?
Yes.
So yeah.
Now they get the Google Drive figured out. I mean,
know.
go for
That's
it.
half the battle.
Right?
Right.
You learned a skill. That's fantastic. See, you help with the parents with the skills too.
Yeah.
I think
Skill now.
that's,
Thanks,
that's
Matt.
terrific. All right. Well, I really want to thank you guys for coming in. If we do another project next year with Mr. Watson, maybe you come back and talk about that one.
Okay.
I'm so happy to hear from you. All right, so we have been listening to both Harmony and Lucy talking about I Lead Exploration and the What's the Matter with Harriet, or What's Wrong with Harriet project that turned out so fantastically. This is SCVI and I Lead Schools, Eye on the Valley. I'm Sara McDaniels with Matt Watson on your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVI and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and I'm here with producer Sara McDaniels. And, gosh, I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but probably my favorite guests over the last couple of months, both Lucy and Harmony Chisholm, our I Lead homeschool family, have decided to stick around and play trivia with us.
Yay.
That's right, it's trivia. It is time for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. Big T, y'all know Big T. He's a longtime resident and leader here in Santa Clarita. He's an executive and a philanthropist. He is an amazing father, husband, community leader, and he has the distinction of being able to compress the most words into the smallest idea of any man I've ever met. That's right, Lucy. He is Mom's favorite. He is Big T. Welcome to the show.
Big T also knows what's wrong with Harriet. Harriet's a little bothered Big T didn't get his full 15 minutes.
Big T, it's 5 minutes of fame, not 15.
Okay, just checking.
And you know what? When the previous guest is more interesting than you, we go long.
Ooh.
I know that. I know that's the truth.
Okay, so Harmony and Lucy, I need to explain the rules. I don't know if you guys have watched Jeopardy. You don't have to answer in the form of a question, but you do have to hit your buzzer if you know the answer. Well, you don't have a buzzer in front of you.
Oh.
So your buzzer is your name. So when you think you know the answer, you have to call out your name. Okay? So like if Sara knows the answer, she's going to say Sara. Mm-hmm. And Lucy, Chisholm. Hey, Patty, do you mind if we leave you out today? There's a lot of us in here.
Go for it.
All right, cool. And then my name, when we play trivia, I go by Frogger.
There's got to be a story behind that. I'm still waiting for that story.
I'm still waiting on that story.
Harmony, email me. Oh. There are children in the room. So yeah, call out your name, and then you can throw out your answer. I will keep score. Those of you playing at home, you don't have to hit a buzzer, so you have an advantage. Play along with us. You keep score at home. All right, Big T, what have you got for us?
Perfect. So we're going to do a little bit of a fun fact in the honor of Vladimir Lenin's birthday, who was born in 1870. Of course, he was a Marxist and a Soviet leader. So we have some Russia fun facts, if you will.
Oh
Did
my!
you know that? Hey, it's all over the news, right? Might as well have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Did you know that beer wasn't considered an alcoholic drink in Russia until 2011?
Really?
Whoa.
Really?
Okay, because it's nowhere near as strong as vodka.
That's got to be it.
Exactly. 1 out of 4 Russian men die before their 55th birthday. Again, the vodka.
Or Vladimir Lenin.
Yes. There's no word for fun in Russia.
Of course there isn't.
There is a word for joy, but there's no need for fun.
Oh my goodness.
In Russia, there is no parking on the dance floor. No, okay, that one I threw in.
Come on, you
Some
remember the
bears
80s.
in Russia are hooked to jet fuel due to leftover kerosene and gasoline cans in some of the Far East regions.
They've got a jet fuel habit, huh?
Yeah, they go sniff around those cans. It's funny.
Oh my God.
Moscow's uber rich sometimes drive in ambulances so that they can get around traffic.
I have heard that one. It's a serious
Okay,
problem.
that's cool.
Gosh.
Big
Yeah,
T, we've got
exactly,
3
right?
minutes. Let's get straight to the trivia.
Perfect. Who discovered that the Earth revolves around the sun?
Sarah?
Sarah.
I'm going Galileo.
Incorrect.
Do you know that one?
Lucy, I'm out. What do you
Last
got?
initial is C.
I have no idea.
Okay, Frogger.
All right.
I'm going Copernicus.
Frogger. Copernicus is correct. That's a tough sentence. What art form is described as decorative handwriting or handwritten lettering?
Sarah.
Harmony.
Go Harmony.
Harmony.
Calligraphy.
Calligraphy is correct. She's on the board. Nice.
All right.
What planet has the most moons?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Saturn.
That is correct.
Ooh.
Complete the following lyrics. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key.
Harmony. If I'd have
Harmony.
known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me.
We'll give that to you. What song is it?
I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor.
I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor.
Hey,
Harmony's
Big
in the
T,
lead.
and Harmony is in the lead, and she's going to take this one. It was a very short edition, but at a score of 2-1, Harmony takes it. Big T, we've got to wrap up, but I promise I'll get you on the back end next week. I want to thank my guest, Monica Gilchrist from Gilchrist Farm, iLead Exploration Homeschool family, Lucy and Harmony Chisholm, producer Sarah, engineer Patty, engineer Carlos, and thank you for listening. Join us again next week and every week, Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. This is Matt Watson with my co-host Sarah McDaniels, and this is iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.